Hyperfrugality. That's what we're talking about today on Catalyst Conversations, specifically in the context of your high earning and cash accumulating experiences. So you're making the money, you're storing it in savings accounts, maybe checking accounts, and you are not deploying it strategically. So specifically around that, we're going to talk about hyperfrugality. So the idea that money is not getting you as much as it used to, that's real. That's real. It's not your imagination. It's called inflation, actually. There's a name for it. And we experience it on the daily, from groceries to self-care to, these splurges that we make, our vacations, our spa treatments, our getaways, our car buying. Everything's gone up. Am I right? Yeah, so we're kind of in this spot where you are holding on to this cash, but as life is getting a little bit more costly to experience, you're seeing that security blanket kind of shriveling up on you. You're realizing that the security you had in seeing that cash accumulate and sit there protected and waiting for you, that's quickly going away. Your blanket is being depleted. Someone's tugging it real hard and it's falling away from you. And what you thought of as safety is quickly disappearing. What's the result? Well, the result is that many of us, as high earning women who are not deploying cash strategically, we end up cycling between fear and hustle. Fear and hustle. So we're on this hamster wheel where you're exhausting yourself, literally working yourself to the bone, trying to make that next dollar with no real idea how to get off the wheel. You're running a survival mindset programming that is fueled by fear that you have not addressed. And today, we are exposing the internal psychological blind spots that are keeping you trapped. Because my intention for this episode is to help you step into true financial command. So let's break this down just a little bit. Many first time high earners, first in your generation, first in your line, this is new to you. Many high earners confuse this cash that's sitting in their checking accounts or savings accounts with real security. We also confuse it to some degree with some misguided responsibility mantra that we're running in our heads, ignoring the real truth of how persistent cost inflation is quickly eroding your actual purchasing power over time. And it used to be over the course of years, but with the way things are going right now, inflation is eroding our purchasing power on a month-to-month basis. Quarter by quarter, we're seeing cost of goods and experiences going up at a steady clip. So the subconscious drive that you're feeling to keep money close to you, it really stems from a few places. And I'll just talk about two of them in this episode. But understand that what you're doing, you're not thinking about it first. These are inherent reactionary behaviors, and they typically stem from one of these two spots. One is an inherited scarcity mindset. Remember, no one has told you how to be with money. You have not seen it exemplified in your peers, in your family, and what you have seen work is scarcity being the impetus for behavior. So that inherited scarcity mindset that you saw modeled as you were growing up, as you were having these young adult experiences, that is forcing earners like you to use your capital defensively instead of deploying it for growth, instead of being offensive, instead of stepping into opportunities. And one of the lines that I hear most is, what if I lose it all? That is a response to that scarcity mindset, the idea that there won't be enough, the idea that there's not enough to go around, so I have to hold on to everything that I can and make it available to me without any risk to having it, to earning it, to holding on to it. You get it. The scarcity mindset really puts us in a corner and says, okay, everything that comes into my hands, I need to hold on to it and hold on to it in a way that it will not ever escape. So that's one of the contributors to this behavior where we're holding on to money, we're hoarding cash. Another contributor that I see a lot is this distrust of the financial system. And depending on your experience growing up, depending on how you identify racially, depending on how you identify gender-wise, it could be well-founded. I know that this economic system, the financial systems within which we operate, were not designed for us. In fact, it was designed by and for the benefit of those who are pale and male. That is just the truth. I'm not saying it to upset anyone. I'm not saying it to be, I'm not trying to set up any trend. I'm a lover, not a fighter, so I ain't trying to do anything here other than state what is fact. So if you are not pale, if you are not male, chances are you are exhibiting a real justified distrust in the financial system. So what do you do with that? That distrust of the financial system, it's kind of shows up where instead of learning and exploring, you feed the distrust, and that magnifies your financial limitation. So it's true that it wasn't designed for you, but that doesn't mean you cannot leverage it. It's true that it was not put in place with you in mind, but that does not mean you cannot make it your own. But what happens when we're seeing that cash hoarding behavior, when we're seeing that hyperfrugality, you are feeding the distrust, and our minds are just hanging on to, latching onto the headlines, the news, the experiences of others that are going to make our distrust true. So you'd say to yourself, it would be irresponsible for you to invest in these places in the markets, again, with asking yourself the question, what if I lost it all? Well, the truth of the matter is, as the subconscious is driving our behavior, which is rooted in a lot of unexplored fear, the result is hyperfrugality, where we avoid risk at all cost, where we hoard cash and run away from opportunities instead of to them. Another result is worry. Oh my goodness, taking in all kinds of news and doom scrolling, feeding your fear in order to make your narrative appear right. Another result is reactivity. And this one is so dangerous because we end up making impulsive decisions that address temporary hiccups. We call and we make calls that are kind of rooted in a snap response because we heard something, or a snap response because we want to be able to do something quickly. We're deciding, you know what? I'm not going to invest in the markets because I need to have this cash ready because, the way the world is going, the sky is going to fall any minute. Well, let me just tell you this as an aside. If the sky is going to fall, your money ain't gonna do nothing for you. So keep that in mind. If that's the reason why you think you're gonna keep all that money in cash close at hand, just in case. So hyperfrugality, worry, reactionary type behaviors, these are all manifestations of what we're thinking, what we're believing for ourselves, And I think it's time we fix that because we have done the hard work, but it's time for us to actually live through the results, live through all of the benefits of the work that we've put into building our careers, all the sacrifices that we've made to safeguard our generational lines. It's time for us to experience the benefits and step out of that hyperfrugality mentality, step out of that fear mongering that we do to ourselves, and set ourselves up for true financial command. So let's fix this. So I often observe top executive women whose internal self-worth has not caught up to their balance sheet. And that manifests in different ways. For your hard-earned money to stop wasting away, consider a two-pronged approach. And understand this, if your money is not working for you, you're losing it. If you're earning money, you're already working hard for this money, and this money does not in turn work hard for you, you are on the losing end of this conversation. So consider a two-pronged approach to get that money working for you. First, we need you to shift from survival brain security to redefining wealth. Now, that's a big one because it is the idea of redefining wealth in terms that actually are true and activating for you will require us to do some additional work. But please understand that wealth is not a big bucket of cash sitting somewhere, hopefully not under your mattress, but it cannot be that. That is not wealth. That is not how you're actually going to live and enjoy a life that is full and rich. It's time for us to redefine wealth in terms of time autonomy. Being able to use your time in ways that are meaningful, celebratory, in ways that reflect your values. Wealth needs to be defined in terms of personal choice because we've sacrificed so much. It's time for us to now have the opportunity to choose for ourselves, not because we have to, but because we can and we want to. We need to start redefining wealth in terms of intentional expansion. There was that time, probably when you were growing up, when you watched your parents have multiple jobs, sacrifice endlessly, doing the work while taking care of you, instilling great values in you, supporting your education, your extracurricular development, all of that good stuff. There was that time. As a result, many of us, our parents didn't have the opportunity to explore financial opportunity. They did not have they were not at the tables where conversations were being had about, tax efficiencies, or strategies for retirement, or, setting up trusts, or having conversations about, impacting the next generation in financial terms. It's time for you to do that because those who went before us did the sacrificing so that you're positioned here now so you can explore intentional expansion, and not just for the next generation, but for yourself. How are you growing? And how can your wealth facilitate that growth? Not because it's what's needed for the next level of your career, not because it's what's needed so that others will view you in a manner that makes you feel good. No. What is it that you want to do? How can you grow? And how can you make that intentional? Shift how we define wealth. Move from the idea that money in the bank equals security, because it does not. We have seen it, we've experienced it. If money in the bank is just sitting there and doing nothing for you, you are losing money. Truth, period, full stop. That's it. So first thing that I'd like you to consider is shifting from that survival brain thinking that cash gives you security and moving to a place where you can redefine wealth in terms of what you value and how you can make your life rich, meaningful, and intentional. The second prong is that we need to stop with I think we need to stop with the idea or nurturing the idea that money is all about numbers. You have so many unconscious root ideas that are contributing to your behavior that as long as they are unaddressed, you will keep sabotaging your wealth journey. It's time to uncover the root money trauma that is contributing to these behaviors so that you can actually transition from the one who hustles and earns and hustles and earns and has no rest, worries, is up in the middle of the night. We need to transition from that, where you're clinging to that paycheck, where you're clinging to, the next step, because if you don't take that next level, if you don't get to that next title, you feel like everything could just fall apart. Transition from that to being an architect executing a master vision. It's a beautiful thing, let me tell you. When you move from reactivity to architecting, and I love the term, I really love the idea that we could be the ones kind of guiding, orchestrating a master vision of what we would like our lives to be, how we would like to experience life, how we would like to impact those around us, and the legacies that we leave behind. So please redefine wealth for yourself based on what you value, and then target that root money trauma that is going to help you transition from that default thinking that has not served you well in the past to choosing and architecting a wealth vision for yourself. Well, if you recognize any part of what I've described today in yourself or someone you know, your income is expanding, but your internal peace is shrinking. It really is time to stop guessing. It's time to stop trying this and trying that. You're at the level now where you're not here to play games with your money. You're not here to play games with the experiences that you want in your life. You are no longer the intern girl. You are no longer the one who's just sitting around waiting to be told what next to do. With you and your wealth, it's time to stop playing. And it's time to actually diagnose what is happening within your mind and heart and how it is contributing to the behaviors and results that you are getting with your money. I invite you to book a wealth and worth counseling session with me. In this precision 90-minute private session, we won't just look at your spreadsheets. We're going to look at the numbers. We're going to look at the results you're getting. But we will also map your primary behavioral blockers and construct a custom 3-step resolution roadmap that's going to help you align your wealth with your sense of worth and your internal confidence. So head over to my website, hadrianaleo.com, or you can click the link in the show notes to reserve your diagnostic today. Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you the next time on Catalyst Conversations. Take care.